Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Swati Mishra from International School of Business Management at Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur. Welcome to yet another session of marketing management. We have been discussing the introductory part of marketing management. We have introduced you to the term what is a market and what is marketing management. I spoke to you about lots and lots of philosophies of marketing management, how the concept of marketing moved from that of selling towards actually being a customer oriented concept. After that, we also discussed what is the marketing environment and how you scan the marketing environment, what are the main elements which would affect a company's marketing strategies, and how an organization can take maximum benefit of the marketing environment in the favor of the brand. So, today I want to discuss another very important introductory aspect of marketing management, and I want to introduce you to the terminology marketing research. As to what marketing research is, why is it so important for any marketing manager to study marketing research, how a marketing manager can gain maximum information about the markets through marketing research. All this will be studied in today's session. So as we proceed with this session, we will also be discussing the introduction, nature and scope of marketing management, marketing research in today's session. So, if we talk about the learning objectives of today's session, the main learning objective of today's session are to understand marketing research, to understand the relevance of marketing research for any kind of marketing decisions, to develop an appreciation of MR and its applications everywhere in the marketing field, to know the procedures of conducting marketing research, and to develop a familiarity with each step of the procedure of marketing research. Although, marketing research in itself is altogether another subject that is studied by the students of BBA and MBA when they take up marketing as a specialization, because marketing research in itself is a very vast field to be studied. But since this is an introductory part, after this session, you will have a clear understanding of what is marketing research. You will have an introductory understanding of marketing research. You will have an understanding of how marketing research is applied in real life situations. You will develop an insight of the nature and scope of marketing research, and of course, a familiarity with the steps and procedures of carrying out this marketing research. So we will require around 2 to 3 sessions to cover marketing research completely, wherein we will discuss the basics of marketing research. And after that, we will also have a little bit of in-depth understanding of the types of marketing research, what are the different types of studies that are carried out by marketing researchers, and some important basic terminologies of research and the process of marketing research as well. So, with this, I now start the main part of the session. And foremost, I would like to help you to answer a question which is right now bubbling in your mind. For at least those who are totally unaware of what is marketing research, it must be bubbling into you as to what is business research actually. So, any kind of business research, whether it is in the field of marketing, whether it is in the field of human resource, and lots of researches are conducted to develop good methods of managing your human resource by the organizations. So it could be into human resource also. And of course, if it is any kind of financial analysis research report or financial analysis research that is conducted by the financial researchers, so, any kind of study which is done to gather some important information, which is holding a very prime important value for any organization's decision making, is actually understood as the business research by the people who are into business management. So, if we try to define business research in words and try to draft a statement, in the simplest form, we can call a business research as a systematic inquiry whose objective is to provide information to solve the managerial problems. Okay, so then then a next question must be coming into your mind, that why do I need to study research? I am just here to understand about marketing management philosophies and different strategies of marketing management, regarding the products, regarding the price, regarding the distribution, and of course the promotions. So, my dear, let me tell you that research is an extensive area wherein lots and lots of budgets are allocated by the organization, and a lot of budget is actually spent on research by all the big organizations, by all the big business houses, by all the advertising agencies. So why is it so? Because, say, if you are doing the promotion of a product or a brand, each and every money, each and every cent that is spent on advertising of that product, the organization will demand an ROI on that, return on the investment. So when you want that return on the investment, you cannot just spend without any research. You have to do a thorough research on the market. You have to understand the psychology of the customers over there. You have to understand each and every factor that is going to affect your marketing strategies. Unless you are understanding all these strategies, all these factors of the environment or the market that are going to affect your industries, each and every step that is it is taking in order to promote it or its organization, or in order to optimize its profits, unless you're doing that research and luring out the correct information, the strategies that you are going to implement are not going to end up into giving you fruitful results. So if you want fruitful results, or good results out of the marketing strategies that you are applying, or be it any other strategy in any other area of management that you are applying, then you need to do a correct research on the variants that are available on which you will be applying your strategies. Like, if you are here to apply some kind of new advertising tactic on your customer, or new promotional tactic on your customer, then you need to first understand the psyche of the customer as to what they want, what is the pulse of the market right now, what is the pulse of the customers right now. Once you have analyzed it properly and you have the results in your hand, which is done by the research, once you have done that, only after that can you take the correct steps. So, whatever money after that you will invest in your marketing activities or any other activities of your, management, that money will actually give you some return on the investment. So, that is why research holds prime importance in case of any kind of business activities, especially marketing. And that is why you need to study research. So it is clearly depicted on your screen that research provides you with the knowledge and the skills that are needed for the fast-paced decision-making environment in your organization. So if you want to develop a fast-paced decision-making in your organization, you need to implement good research techniques in your organization. And if you want to be a part of such, research oriented organizations, you need to study research. So I hope I'm making this clear to you. Now you might not be having any, confusion about why we are taking up marketing research as a session today, though we are only into the introductory sessions of the marketing management. So here comes the next question that must have arose in your mind by now, that you're okay, fine. I've understood that research is done by the organizations, by why exactly managers need better information. If research is doing that information providing job for the managers, why exactly do these managers need this better information? So, see, as far as the competition today is concerned, the organizations are facing heavy and vigorous competition, not only by the local firms, but because of globalization, there are so many multinational companies who are coming in for their enhancements of business areas so that they can capture maximum markets for their products. And of course, when you need to establish your product or when you need to position your product in market, the there is huge requirement of research. So as far as this global and domestic competition is concerned, day by day it is becoming very, very vigorous. And organizations are increasingly practicing lots of data mining and data warehousing techniques. And for this data mining and data warehousing, you need extensively good research techniques. And that is why, each and every manager needs better information today. So let's move ahead and talk about. So, as far as the value of acquiring these research skills is concerned, you know, it is so valuable because to gather more information before you select a course of action in your organization, when you try to select the strategy that you are going to implement in your organization, you need good research skills for that. Similarly, to do any kind of high level research study, you have to place a lot of value towards acquiring these research skills. Similarly, to understand any kind of research design or to evaluate and resolve any current management dilemma that is there in your organization. Say maybe if you are developing any new product and you have developed around 5 blueprints of the new type of product that is supposed to be launched. Or maybe you are in an advertising agency and you have developed maybe 2 or 3 different themes of advertising for your upcoming campaign. Then in that case, you need to evaluate and resolve a dilemma as to which one to choose. And all these can be sorted out with the acquiring of correct research skills. And of course, if you acquire good research skills, you can soon become a research specialist. And marketing research specialists have really huge demand outside in the business world. So if you want to become, if you want to join a high paying job, you should definitely acquire good research skills. So, as far as this research is concerned, there are different types of studies which are used for research. And four main types of studies have been mentioned in front of you on this screen. And those four main types of studies used for research are reporting, descriptive, explanatory, predictive, and of course, these types of research studies have their own importance as per the kind of information that is required within any particular kind of condition that is prevailing in front of an organization, or the kind of marketing information that is required by that organization. So let's briefly discuss as to what are these different types of studies. We will not go into much of depth because we are currently just discussing an introductory part of marketing management, and this is also an introduction that I want to give to you about marketing research. So I will not go into much of depth. We will definitely be, we will definitely study marketing research and the marketing research sessions that I will be taking with you people. So the first type of research that I mentioned to you was reporting, which is actually intended towards providing an account or summation of some kind of data which is required by the organizations, or say sometimes some organization requires some kind of statistical analysis. Maybe let me just give you a small example, that maybe Volkswagen decides to come up with a new print advertisement, a new innovation in the newspaper advertisement that it is going to publish. And they decide to install a little, speaker in the newspaper. Have you seen those greeting cards which play music? When you open them, start singing happy birthday for you. So this is the same case. Maybe you turn on the leaf of a newspaper today morning and you just hear Volkswagen's advertisement in it. So now, of course, this is going to be very expensive for Volkswagen to install so many little microprocessors in every newspaper, which go into an endless loop and is speaking about the features of the new Volkswagen car, which is launched by Volkswagen. Now, let me tell you that I'm not talking to you about something new. This technology was used by Volkswagen somewhere a decade ago. So I'm not talking about anything new today. We all know about it. So many innovations of advertising have been done by lots of organizations in print media advertisements as well. But if you're doing that and you are going to spend so much of money in it, we need some statistics to find out as to how many readers are actually reading the newspapers and which newspaper is the most well read newspaper across the country. And that is why these kind of statistics are required. And sometimes, after the publication of such advertisements, again, some statistical analysis is required by the organization to find out the success rate of that advertisement that was published. So this kind of reporting that is done is also a part of a research, and that becomes one type of research study which we know as reporting. Now, coming to the next type, descriptive. So, what is this descriptive type of study? Any research study which is trying to discover some answers to some kind of questions like who, what, when, where, and sometimes how. Okay, fine. We need to make people understand the importance of vegetable purifiers in India. But how? So those how type of questions, or maybe, okay, we need to advertise and promote the vegetable purifiers in India, but then we need to know that when is the right time to promote them and where, to whom, how. So to answer these kind of questions, you need to conduct some kind of descriptive researches which will come up with answers to such questions. So that is our second type of research, which is descriptive research. Now we come to the third type, which we call as explanatory research. So now this explanatory research actually goes beyond the description, and it attempts to explain the reasons for any kind of phenomenon that the descriptive study has only observed. Which means that descriptive study observed for you that it is pointless to actually promote vegetable purifiers in the rural sectors of India. But why? Why is it occurring? Don't the rural people want a good lifestyle in India? Or maybe suddenly we found out that promotion of some kind of garment in a Saudi Arabic country, a Saudi Arabic place is, or maybe a Gulf country, is not viable. So we need to understand that why is it happening. So maybe there is some kind of cultural gap, or maybe there is some kind of uh, you know problem with the literacy level of the people, that they are not ready to buy the vegetable purifiers, or maybe sometimes there is some kind of cultural issue which is not allowing the people over there to actually buy some kind of new garment that is introduced by some new brand. So why? What is that phenomenon? Why is it occurring? Those answers are answered by explanatory research. Okay. So there are, of course, lots of studies which are done under explanatory researches, like correlation study is conducted, hypothesis testing is done, wherein you frame some hypothesis about some kind of research, and whatever research you are conducting, you frame some hypothesis, and then at the end your research actually comes up with lots of analytic data and answers whether which type of hypothesis is approved or disapproved, and on the basis of that selection and disselection of those selection and rejection of those hypotheses, finally you come to the conclusion of the research. Then we come to the next type of research study, which we call as predictive. So, to predict when and in what situations the event will occur, uh, you know, then you require a predictive research study. Sometimes, when you are aware of some kind of situation that arises, or some kind of phenomenon that occurs, and you also know that when it occurs, how it occurs, but you exactly don't know how to control that phenomenon. So to control a phenomenon, once we have explained it and predicted it as well, you need this predictive research. Okay. So of course there are some more styles of research, conducting the research, like the applied research. Now this applied research actually emphasizes on solving practical problems, very specified practical problems actually, and it could also be exploring different opportunities for rectifying any kind of maybe inventory system that is running in your organization, which is resulting into reduction in the sales. Sometimes you are just hunting for some opportunity to increase the stockholder wealth by acquiring another firm. So whether acquiring another firm is going to be effective or not. So applied research is actually helping you in these types of situations. Then there is, of course, there is a pure or the basic research, which has its emphasis on problem solving and is of a very general nature. It's not very specific, and the effect of any stimuli that is applied, it judges the reaction towards that. So, like if you have given a coupon as against the rebate to stimulate the demand, then how much of effect is created by that stimuli that you have given is actually analyzed by a pure or a basic research. So, that is another style of research. So, talking about this research, naturally, the next question that might be coming to your mind must be, what is a good research? So, following the standards of all the scientific methods, there are a few important things that you should remember if you want to conduct a good research, right? So, what are these actually standards of conducting a good research? First of all, first and foremost, the purpose of the research should be absolutely clearly defined, which means that I should know what is the objective of my research. I am conducting a research to find out the need of water purifiers in this area of maybe, this city in India. So you have to be very precise while, you know, deciding upon the objective of your research. The moment your preciseness, deviates, your research study comes under different types of questions, and then later on, you are not able to get the correct analysis results. So that is why the foremost step of creating a good research is to define the purpose clearly. So after you have clearly mentioned what is the purpose of this research, the next step is to clearly outline the research process in greater detail. You have to decide upon each and every step that is going to be carried out while conducting the research, right? So that is why the next step is to actually have a correct process of research. And unless each and every step or each and every step that is going to be carried out in conducting the research is correctly mentioned, your research won't be called a good research. And of course, the next requirement of a good research is to have a research design which is thoroughly planned. Because unless you know what kind of research design is going to be used, you cannot implement the research correctly. Then, of course, you need to frankly reveal the limitations of your research. Each and every limitation of your research should be correctly and precisely defined. You should be absolutely frank without keeping any hidden secrets while defining your limitations, because unless you are defining the limitations of your research, later on your research won't be able to be generalized. It will become very difficult for you to generalize your research, and it will become very difficult for you to apply it on other concepts also. And sometimes, taking the research further, any kind of advancement that you want to do in that research study, that also becomes very difficult if you have not clearly mentioned the limitations under which this research is going to be carried out. So every good research should have frankly revealed limitations. Okay. And of course, last but not the least, whenever you are carrying out a research, all the ethical standards should be clearly mentioned, kept into mind, and followed, right? Because just to conduct the research and get the results or get the analysis done, one should not use any kind of unethical approach. If you are using any kind of unethical approach, then your research won't be called fair research. So, whenever you are trying to follow these scientific methods of conducting a research, a good research should always carry out adequate analysis for a decision maker's need. Each and every requirement of that decision maker should be clearly understood, and after that only you are going to define the objectives of the research. Once the objectives of the research are decided, post that you actually formulate your hypothesis. And the research which has clearly defined objectives, clearly defined hypothesis, so only after that you can actually decide what type of tools of research you are going to use. Once you know that, okay, these are the tools that I'm going to be using, only then can you conduct an adequate analysis. And that is why every good research has adequate analysis, so that a decision maker gets all the type of information that he or she actually required to take that decision. Then, of course, the findings, that are presented uh, at the end of the research should be absolutely unambiguous. There should be no ambiguity uh, in your findings of your research. Because if there are going to be any kind of ambiguities in the research findings, what is the need of those findings at all? You cannot take decisions out of those findings. And of course, your conclusions after your findings, after the completion of your research, should be clearly justified, right? And the researcher's experience throughout the research should be reflected in your research, and that actually forms a good research. So I hope that I have made it absolutely clear to you as to what we call as a good research, how is a good research recognized, what are the key requisites of a good research. Suppose that we move ahead towards the manager researcher relationship. A lot of times, it does not happen that the manager himself is conducting the research for the organization. A lot of times, there are lots of research agencies which are hired by the big business houses or big corporate houses for conducting their research, who will in turn give them the analysis reports, and the management can actually formulate their strategies for their upcoming, maybe annual strategy or upcoming session, based on the analysis report of the research agency just that was hired by them. So when we talk about this manager researcher relationship, obviously both the parties have obligations towards each other. So if we talk about the manager's obligations towards the researcher, then there are a few important things which are supposed to be kept in mind by the managers, like he has to specify the exact problems to the researcher on which the researcher has to work or has to provide results to the managers. And the manager has to provide an adequate background information to the researcher that the researcher needs to develop or start outlining, start to create the outline of the research from. So that background information which is provided by the manager to the researcher is highly important. If that is not given, The researcher is like, left out in a dark room, and you cannot actually work in a dark room. That is why background information is highly required and essential. And then, of course, there has to be an access, it's written access to company information gatekeepers. Like, if the researcher requires any kind of information about the organization, it is a manager's obligation to provide him the necessary contacts from where that researcher can lure out the organization's information. It could be the contact of some person, or maybe the link of the annual reports, or maybe an access to the data base of the organization. It could be anyways. So now, obviously, what are the researcher's obligations towards the manager are again something very important in the manager-researcher relationship. So, obviously, the researcher's obligation is to create creative research design for the manager, provide answers to the important business questions that need to be answered, provide the important information that is required by the manager for key decision making situations. And apart from them, since the manager is giving the researcher a lot of information about the company's secret, and not share it with any other competitor, right? So that is one of the key and most important obligation of research. Now, where do the manager-researcher conflicts arise? Or what are these manager-researcher conflicts? So when the management feels that they have very limited exposure to the research that is being carried out, if the researchers are not providing regular updates to the management, then in that case, it might become one of the reasons of manager-researcher conflicts. Secondly, when the manager sees the researcher as a threat to personal status, that could be one of the major reasons of manager-researcher conflicts. And of course, manager-researcher conflicts can arise when researcher has to consider the corporate culture and the political situations, and sometimes when the researchers are isolated from the managers are not giving them an access to the information that is required by them. So these are a few situations in which the manager researchers come into the conflict. So both the parties have to keep in mind to avoid such situations, so that the research can be conducted healthily, and of course the timeline can be met, the deadlines can be met by the researchers. So we have spoken a lot about when a research is required, why a research is required, but sometimes you cannot do a research every time or everywhere. So here are a few points where I would like to mention as to when a research should be avoided. So maybe when information cannot be applied to critical management decisions, you should avoid it. When managerial decision involves a little type of risk, we should avoid. When management has insufficient resources to conduct a study, be it monetary resource, be it human resource, then the research should be avoided. And of course, when the cost of the study outweighs the level of risk of the decision, in such a situation, the research should be definitely avoided. So now we will just speak about a few important aspects of the need of marketing research. Of course, marketing research is needed when a manager takes any kind of important critical decisions in the organization. The job of marketing research in that case is to provide correct information to to the manager, based on which the manager can take correct decisions. And of course, his responsibility is to reduce risk of failure in the decision making. So that is why market research is highly needed at this time. Whenever the risk arises due to lack of relevant information, that time marketing research is highly needed, right? Because if correct type of marketing research is not conducted, there might be situations where you just fail because of the lack of information. And of course, a manager always seeks information to improve the quality of decision making that is carried out in an organization. So in that case also, marketing research is highly needed. And marketing research is also needed when it's not very easy to collect the information uh, from the general public, or maybe from the data that is available. So when some typical kinds of analysis have to be conducted, in that case you need marketing research. And then of course, when this marketing research is a very important tool for managerial decision making, so this makes marketing research very important for the marketers. As far as your marketing decisions are concerned, whether it is production, finance, personal planning, management of your human resources, most of the information that is required is available within the organization. So that is why it is very easy to collect and analyze the data, like any kind of formal procedures which are used to improve quality, like the statistical methods for quality control, program evaluation and review techniques, critical path methods, queuing theory, optimization techniques, any other production methodologies and techniques, that are scientific methods that are available, they are very helpful in managing all this. Then of course, your human resource is there within the organization, so it is very easy to conduct research on them also. But for marketing, information mostly exists outside the organization. It is there in the consumer behavior, the perception of the consumers, the minds of the consumers. It is there that marketing information lies in the moves of your competitors, in the strategies that your competitors are applying. It also lies in the new rules and regulations that have been formulated by your government, in the social and political changes that have been brought in your country. So, all these types of environmental factors that are affecting your organization, which are outside your organization, whenever they have to be researched, your marketing research has to work outside your organization. So that is why marketing research plays a very important role in case of marketing decision making. There are of course multiple situations where there is a problem for collecting information which is required for marketing decisions, and being totally external, as I just said, being outside the organizational environment. Collection of data is a very cumbersome process, and it's of course a very expensive process also. Then these variables are often qualitative and dynamic in nature, and that is why, because of being so dynamic in nature, it makes the measurement very difficult and sometimes inaccurate also. And of course, sometimes these variables are very complex and very difficult to actually interact with. So in these cases, marketing research plays a very important role for marketing decision making. As far as this information collection that is done by marketing research is concerned, there is a lot of risk which is involved in the usage of wrong information. So the choice of wrong information may sometimes leads to, excessive expenditure, incorrect expenditure, expenditure at the wrong avenues, then sometimes the decision just going astray, not working in the manner it was expected to work, sometimes becoming very uncompetitive in the market and losing out, and sometimes the market may vanish all of a sudden, like in case of fashion garments, the trends keep changing very fast and the market for one particular kind of garment totally vanishes off in a fraction of maybe a week or a month. So any kind of wrong information can be really very hazardous to the major marketing teams who are trying to work in those teams. So after that, let us discuss, the different sources of knowledge that are there. The empiricists try to attempt to describe, explain, and also make predictions through various observations, from where the information can actually grabbed and collected. The rationalists, of course, believe that all the knowledge can be deduced from known laws or basic truths of nature. And of course, the authorities, that are there, they also serve as an important source of knowledge, but it should be judged on integrity and willingness to present a balanced case. As far as the essential tenets of this science of marketing research are concerned, although we will be studying them in detail when we take up with the marketing research sessions separately, here I would just mention a few which are jotted down in the screen, like direct observation of the phenomenon is done under marketing research. Then clearly defined variables, methods, and procedures are there. Empirically testable hypotheses are there to be tested. There should be ability to rule out the rival hypothesis. And of course, statistical justification of conclusions, self-correcting processes, all these things play a very important and essential tenets of the science behind the marketing research. If we talk about the ways in which the communication is done, there are two main types of it, like the exposition, which includes descriptive statements that merely state and do not give any reason. And then, of course, the second one is argument that allows us to explain, interpret, defend the challenge, and explore the meaning. So, exposition and argument become two main important ways to communicate in case of marketing research. Then, of course, deduction and induction is also, some important arguments in marketing research. Deduction is basically a form of inference that purports to be conclusive in your research, and induction basically draws those conclusions from one or more particular facts and figures. So that is what is the meaning of deduction and induction. To have more knowledge about these important terminologies of marketing research, uh, you will have to subscribe to my videos of marketing research, which I will be posting soon. And the main building blocks of the theories of marketing research are the concepts behind the marketing research, the constructs of these marketing research, the main definitions of all the terminologies in marketing research, the variables, the propositions, the hypotheses, the theories, the models, of marketing research. So, whenever you are trying to understand a concept in a marketing research, a concept could be a bundle of meanings or characteristics which are associated with any kind of event that is occurring, any kind of object that is trying to be sold in the market or positioned in the market as a brand. It could be any kind of condition that has suddenly arose. It could be an economic or political condition that is arose. It could be any situation in which you are trying to make your organization or your brand has fallen, and you are trying to maybe rejuvenate your brand. It could be any particular product life cycle in which your product is moving, and you are trying to refurbish the marketing strategies for that. So, and then of course it could also be any kind of behavior of the consumer that you are trying to analyze. So concepts have been developed over the time through the shared usage of information about marketing research. So these concepts are the ones which are actually developed in marketing research, and studies are conducted over them, and the conclusive research findings are created which can be used by the decision makers as a whole, or in that research. So, as far as this understanding of concepts is concerned, the success of your research always hinges on two important points. First of them being how clearly we conceptualize the problem or the objective of the research, the problem that was requiring solution in a research. And secondly, how well the others understand the concepts that we are going to use. So these are the two main important aspects on which the understanding of your concepts will rely. Here is a list of some reference books that you can refer to for greater details of marketing research. And now that we have reached almost the end of this session, here is a small quiz for you on the basis of whatever I have discussed with you in this session. Here's my first question. Dash is a systematic inquiry whose objective is to provide information to solve the managerial problems. Market, first option is market survey, second is business research, third is business simulation, and the next is business modeling. And the answer is business research. My next question is, research provides you with the knowledge and skills needed for the fast-paced dash environment. Production, human resource handling, decision making, cash flow. And the answer is human resource handling, B. Next question is, there is a need for better information today for A, facing global competition, B, practicing data mining, C, practicing data warehousing, and D, all of the above. Yes, the answer is B, all of the above. Here's my fourth question. Which of the following is a type of study used for research? A, repulsive, B, descriptive, C, proactive, D, responsive. And the answer is B. It's B, descriptive. I'm extremely sorry. There is some incorrect typing over here. Here's my fifth question. Which of the following type of study provides an account or summation of some data or generates some statistics? A, reporting, B, descriptive, C, predictive, D, exploratory. And the answer is A, reportive. Here's my sixth question. Which type of study tries to discover the answers to the questions who, what, when, where, and sometimes how? And the answer is yes, B, descriptive. This is my seventh question. Predictive research tries to provide an account or summation of some data or generate some statistics. Uh, B, discover answers to questions who, what, when, where, and sometimes how. C, to go beyond description and attempts to explain the reasons for the phenomenon that the descriptive study only observed. And to predict, D is to predict when and in what situations the event will occur. Yes, the predictive research actually tries to answer when and in what situation the event will occur. So the answer is B. Next question is, which of the following will not be considered a standard of the scientific method? A, adequate analysis for decision makers' needs. B, findings presented ambiguously. C, conclusions justified. And D, researchers' experience reflected. And the answer is B, findings presented ambiguously. They should be unambiguous, right? Next question is, developing a creative research design and providing answers to important business questions are the A, manager's obligation towards researcher, B, researcher's obligation towards manager, C, retailer's obligation towards producer, D, producer's obligations towards retailers. And the answer is B, researcher's obligation towards the manager. 10th question is, manager-researcher conflicts arise due to management's limited exposure to research. Manager sees researcher as the threat to personal status. Researcher has to consider corporate culture and political situation. Researchers isolate from managers. E, all of this. F, none of these. And the answer is E, all of these. So with this, we have come to an end of today's session. And this has been thoroughly a very long and descriptive type of session on the introduction to marketing research. We will discuss some more theories of marketing research in the next session. For now, this is Dr. Swati Mishra from International School of Business Management at Suresh Gambhir University, Jaipur, signing off. Thank you so much for being so patient and subscribing to my videos.